warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Shalom, Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, Salam Kebajikan. Let me introduce myself. I am Tatiana. I am from SMA 7 Jakarta, and right now, 4 distinguished judges, honorable teachers, fellow participants, ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you one question. What about I told you right now that Jakarta is not based on the buildings we construct, on the roads we expand, or the technology we invent, but something much simpler is our ability to read. If I tell you about reading, what would you think about it? Reading a books makes sense, reading newspaper, reading blogs, reading social media posts, right? But what if I told you right now that we can see reading in another point of view? Reading is not merely reading literature. It is good, very helpful. But let me ask you about one thing. If you ask yourself, do you think Jakarta is gonna be more modern? Is Jakarta in the future will have flying cars, like we expect? For me, let we ask ourselves one question. Do we understand Jakarta we are facing right now? Do we understand Jakarta right now? And to understand that, I want to invite you guys to another perspective of reading in 3 chapters. First chapter is Jakarta is in history. Jakarta first is Jakarta, and then Batavia, finally Jakarta we know. History is not there merely belong in our textbooks, or neither in a museum, but it's there to remind us that we always have unfinished stories we need to continue wisely, step by step, with critical and logical thinking. Second chapter is the Jakarta today. Jakarta maybe is a busy city with the busy schedules, corporates, and the skyscrapers. But let me tell you one thing. For me, Jakarta is us, the students who catching up on a bus before sunrise, and then the working vendors, street vendors that are working underneath this afternoon heat. They're also a family that hoping that tomorrow will be better than today. Perhaps we need to know something, that if we look at the data, we only know the numbers. We only know something on paper, but we does not know what the heart. If we read the people, we know the heart. We know the personality. We know their way of thinking, so we can think, so we can consider like them. If we want to be a leader, we cannot think merely by our thinking, but also we need to think on others' point of view that we lead. Same as the cities. If I ask you that cities is not just merely about a city, but it's somehow about things more special than that. First off, cities is like a book. If you are an actor, you are writing a new book. If you want to next chapter and you want to write a new story, what will you do? You will dive in to your character's point of view, right? To know what line he would say, what things he would do. Same goes as the city. You cannot decide what things you don't know. You need to decide some things that's already in front of your eyes. What things need to be prepared, what things need to be arranged more. And the third one. Before we get into the third one, let me tell you one quote. It's from Harper Lee that once said, "You never really know about people unless you consider to see things on his point of view." It's somehow look very, very selfless. But we need that as a leader to know what we lead and to lead wisely, to know what step we should take based on the rock we stand. If the rock is solid, then we can jump on it. But if the rock is still simmering upon the water, we cannot do that. The third chapter I want to tell you is the Jakarta we are writing today. The Jakarta we are writing today is based not on just the technology. In these days, we have AI, we have unlimited access to answers, informations that we can grant in one blink of an eye, in a one snap of a finger. But it's not merely simple as that. AI is not come with the wisdom. We need the wisdom to think. We need the wisdom to know what is good, we choose next or not. And that's why you need to listening before you judging. Jane Austen once said, reading is the best solitude. Reading, you can find a solitude in reading. And my personal opinion that I love reading, and her opinion, Jane Austen, was my favorite author. I very agree with her because I find solitude in reading. I find an escape in reading. I find a new fantasy that I can live in this harsh world of students, of exam. You can always read. You can always have a little heaven, little escape. But what if we see Jakarta now? Can we read the diversity and make it unity? Can we read the circumstances as a new way of thinking? Can we make another path? Same goes as another thing. Also, there's one more thing you need to know. The next thing is reading shapes not only a knowledge. Reading shapes your personality. The personality you often stole from the character you read from your book. Maybe your favorite character or your most hated character. But it also shapes our heart, our mind, our way of thinking, our point of view about something or everything. That's why as Jakarta leads toward its 500, I want to tell you guys that we need a leader that is not only look ahead and just read, but we need a leader that can read the circumstances and also understand it. So that's why may we read it now and understand it so we can be the future leaders for the future ahead. Thank you.